Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the YouTube account. On the pay to win account, we have 14,000 diamonds. We are still looking to build out some very specific draconic heroes and overall make a little bit of progression. Now you'll notice within the campaign chapter, we are on 76-44. So it's interesting because when we start looking at the world map and knowing that the notes that came up did unlock additional chapters in here, most players have said that they cannot go through. So you see 77, 78. So a lot of players were stuck at 77. There was no ability to get to 78. Now it looks like a lot of players have actually pushed into 78, which is great to see because, of course, if we're not making progression in AFK Arena, the game unfortunately will kind of go south. Now, one thing I want to note is when it comes to the event that we have right now going on with the Chrono Strife and overall, every team that I have seen from every player that I've gotten feedback from, if you ran with Zolrath, if you went in here and you did the Zolrath team, unfortunately, I believe you lost because even we managed to gauge the opportunity. You can see Zolrath is 100% successful. There's not even anything on the enemy side of the battlefield any longer. It's very interesting to see that it is 1800 to 0. So again, a lot of players were giving a lot of feedback that said it was just 100% of a lopsided event where everyone went with Orthos, and I see this on now 3 accounts. Everyone that went with Orthos just absolutely dominated the entire game. And then, of course, anyone who did go with Zolrath, like I did in the beginning, just got absolutely devastated, which is kind of crazy. So we will get the victory reward, including this chest. Now, honestly, when you look at the Dragonlight chest, Scion is your priority. If you do not have Scion built to, ascended with 1 star or even going higher to take him to 5 stars, that is going to be the hero that you want. If you have Scion built, it's going to be Beagris. Umbriel, unfortunately, is not being used at all, but that will give us quite a bit of our diamonds in there. And I want to do some summons because, again, we do have 14,000 diamonds looking for some draconic heroes. What is going on, Van Gogh? Happy New Year. Good time to see you. Tushar, what is going on? Hope everything is well with you guys, and Happy New Year. This is the first stream of 2026. Going through, we can see we got lent some of our short-term heroes. And honestly, when you look at building out your heroes and when you look at borrowing heroes, really the 2 big Merc heroes that we're seeing right now is looking at Althara. That is one you absolutely want to get. That is one of the primary ones that we're seeing in a lot of formations. Skyland is another one that I always Merc because they kind of work hand in hand. Now, depending on where you want Althara, and she's the one we're going to be looking at summoning today, but depending where you have Althara and where you want to build her up, because she is a primary damage dealer, and now, honestly, she is the best in slot Highborn Draconic hero that we have because now she is in a ton of different places, a ton of different formations, not only being best in slot as a damage dealer, but also being kind of that secondary best in slot to Skyland and a couple other places. The hero is pretty broken, and we're going to see it. And we do see her run a lot of times run with Tavril. He is another one that, as being a newer hero, as being a buffer and a support, we are seeing him again in a lot of additional places. We're going to go ahead and get him up to this plus 30 signature item. The rest of this we're going to save at this point. I wanted to see where and how he was being used, what exactly the required build with him would be. And overall, like I said, we're seeing him in a lot of different places. Any thoughts on the new dims? So we talked about this a little bit in the last video. So as it sits right now, we are not seeing them anywhere, which kind of goes hand in hand. It was the same thing with Shahan and Sun Jinwoo. We did not see them anywhere, and we did not see them anywhere for, I believe it was about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they really went mainstream. I hopped on the test server yesterday. I didn't see them used anywhere on the test server either. Like we were saying with Althara right here, guys, 26 billion damage. I did not see them used on the test server either. So one, it could be too new. And I really think that depending on where the damage scales, and that's kind of the question when it comes to heroes, is depending on where the damage scales. So we see that, we have a hero like Terrible Tornado that does a considerable amount of damage, does considerable amount of damage on a bunch of enemies. If they didn't scale her combat rating high enough, she is not going to do the damage that we need to see her really move into those meta formations. And even now, it seems like Sun Jin Woo, in looking again at a lot of different formations, a lot of different runs, has started almost working himself out or coming out of some of these formations. And then we've seen Shahan actually used in quite a few different formations. Popping up like right here, there is Shahan, there's Sun Jin Woo. Now, we had also talked about the Awakened heroes when we look at Envideo being the number one, Shamira being really a number two, followed right here by the Awakened version of Estrilda. Estrilda is one, again, she will kind of play a double role, and she does. As a tank, she can be a buffer, she can be a shielder, she can be a healer, she can also be a primary damage dealer if you stack some heroes around her to really amplify the damage. Now, we know within this formation, typically, we are running, and there is Shuna. Shuna will provide a very big buff with Estrilda if Estrilda has the highest attack rating, and that makes her really having that shielding, being able to buff herself. It again, this is kind of interesting because when we start looking at the Light Martyr, when we start looking at how some of these bosses within the Nightmare Corridor work, it is a 7-second battle here, which again is kind of crazy because it literally only lasts 7 seconds. Some of these even here, and you'll notice that 7.77, formation number 2, 7.77. I believe 7.357 is about the cap we see here. And you'll also notice in this formation, we do run Marseille and we have Laios. So the Delicious and Dungeon crossover is built. If you are a player that did not get either of those heroes, unfortunately, we have not seen them to the Garrison. I am hoping the next patch we're going to see them come into the Garrison. In addition, still, we do need that Awakened Wilder that we are kind of waiting for. And we still do have Athalia. Now, I know within the tier list itself, Athalia did move down a little bit. Now, when it comes to this specific boss, this is one where she is still best in slot because of her ability and the SP effect she possesses to really maximize damage. Again, looking at that 7 seconds. Then we have Scion's formation. It's kind of crazy looking at Scion's formation, and this is the reason why when it comes to regular Draconic heroes, Scion is the absolute priority because Scion has a best in slot team within the Nightmare Corridor, within the Cursed Realm, within really most game modes. Scion does have a really, really big staple place where he's doing incredibly well. And then, of course, we do have Envideo still being used in here. You can see Tigris in here. So we do have a few heroes in here as well. I can't believe Nox is now main priority. Nox has always kind of been. So if you look at the Nightmare Corridor, if you look at the Treasure Scramble, Nox has always been in that kind of SS tier. And the reason is, as a debuffer, as a buffer with his skills and abilities, as a support hero, he's starting to kind of branch off into different teams. And the reason why we've kind of seen that change with this hero, and we do see it with a couple different heroes, is because as new heroes are released to AFK Arena, they bring additional skills and abilities to AFK Arena. And that's very similar to what we've seen with looking at Althara and the rise and really the resurgence of Skylin itself. Him being and having a lot more effectiveness. He was not in the Cursed Realm for an incredible amount of time. He was only Treasure Scramble, driving his utility down quite a bit. With the resurgence or with the announcement of Althara, Althara does buff the dragon or the dragon damage, the dragon speed damage. I'm making Skylin very relevant within the Cursed Realm as it sits right now. So some of these older heroes, and honestly, the biggest priority over that and the real change that we've seen is when you think of some of the crossover heroes and when you look at Queen. So Queen was a hero when Joker and Queen were released from, I believe, Persona 5. Queen had no place. Queen was not used anywhere in AFK Arena. Nobody built Queen. There was no reason for Queen. This is a hero that literally nobody used, nobody had, nobody wanted. Everyone was using Joker. Well, in about the following 6 months, Queen found a formation that she was in within the 5-pole. Queen went best in slot for that formation and remained in that formation. And even as we see today, Queen is still being used in some niche formation to bring everyone together with the crowd control she provides. This is a hero that, again, went from having 0 priority, which makes me think when we look bigger picture, looking at like Satama and a couple other heroes where they might not have utility today, they might not have a place in a formation as of today. You also have to take an account with both Satama and with Terrible Tornado. They are brand new to AFK Arena, and all of the players don't have access to them. When you look at free-to-play players, you're still looking at probably about 40 days out, probably about 40 days out before you can actually use these heroes, before we can see their effectiveness where they're used in formations. Now, of course, whale testing, they're going through a lot of different things, seeing what formations, and honestly, what the impact on there is going to be when we start looking at some game modes, like the cursed realm, like the nightmare corridor, and looking at really where these heroes are at and where we're doing 39 billion damage, 40 billion, 41, 43, 40. Is it really enough to make a difference? Where again, if we're in this first formation, we're doing 39.8. If we rework this whole formation with a bunch of different heroes and we get to 40, is the 200 million really worth it in here? If you're min maxing, yes. For a majority of average players, not at all. It is not even going to make a difference, not even going to be a drop in the bucket to build a new formation or build new heroes out with really no utility or no use for them at all. So there was a hot fix. We've seen the current stability. Now, one question that I've seen is when we look at the campaign, this button used to be over here a lot further left. They kind of centered this button. It makes me wonder because we do have an event that is up on the test server that should have been, and I believe is going to be coming up on the global servers pretty soon. But we might not see it, and it might be Tuesday when it comes up. He's priority over Liberta now. Yeah, and honestly, Nox, it's interesting to see again where the heroes are being used. He's capable of clearing stages himself. That is broke. So most of you know, and if you've watched any of my free to play, when it comes to Nox running with the Slumbering Seal, he can clear stages. And I know even some of the later games, it's goofy the way he is built, and I guess the methodology behind how he works, because he is able to actually clear stages through a lot of AFK arenas. So literally, they are just running Nox and the Seal in some of these stages, and of course, the enemies with an E60 engraving on Nox cannot go through and cannot kill Nox, and the Slumbering Seal takes out the entire team, and it is just pure decimation. They absolutely get owned by Nox in its entirety. Skyline is now a good sub in R2 and Nightmare Corridor because of Althara. Yeah, and that's it. And that's where Skyline did come up and did come up quite a bit. The question that we had with Skyline is when we're looking at the hero or when we're building him out, what iterations in the Nightmare Corridor are we going to see him? Is he going to make a return to all of the iterations of the Nightmare Corridor itself? Is it just going to be a few of them? That is kind of yet to be seen. Now, within the wish list itself, we are still looking at 3 Draconic heroes. Again, Beegris, but mainly it is Tavriel that we're looking to build up a little bit further. And even here, I believe we did get, no, we need 20 more summons. So we'll get a free copy out of here. We already have Tavriel at Mythic Plus, so he is almost done. Let's go ahead and see. Maybe we'll get some Highborn Draconic heroes out of here. That would be awesome. There's an Elite. There is Polina. Unfortunately, not going to do anything with that one. Back-to-back Elites, though, and there is Umbriel. Again, not one that we're going to be seeing any utility on. I'm hoping, what do we have, 7 left in here? And then we will use our diamonds as well. We've been slowly kind of burning this through, trying to get the heroes. We know when it came to Beegris, Beegris did take a long, I'm talking 400 plus summons to get to the point of adding that 1 star onto Beegris. He's still being used in formations. You do need his 9 of 9 furniture in there. You need his signature item at a plus 40. It does require a pretty decent build out on Beegris. I think I'm going to do 2 pulls in here. Now, it's been quite a while, and there is Beegris again, since we have seen a Highborn Draconic hero from these regular summons. So even looking at all of the summons, and I mean, we're talking, what, 400 plus summons out of here. We only seen 1, I believe it was 1 Highborn Draconic hero that we did see. Then the Dragonheart Temple, we were up to 62. Now, remember, because of the probability being this 2% and not the 2.5%, the pity timer on Althara is 65 to really 65 is about the pity timer. So even looking at 62 insignias, chances are we might not get a copy if it was a brand new summon in here. It is kind of crazy. What's going on, Bluesmen? How are we building Althara? So Althara has really 2 functionalities. One, Althara can be built up to just legendary, used as a kind of that damage amplifier that we're seeing with Skyline and a couple other ones. If you want Althara to be that best in slot hero because she is a damage dealer, you're going to have to build her up, and it is a high build again. You're looking at a 409, probably 67 or 68. Even if you take her furniture a little bit higher, it requires stats. When it comes to any of our big damage dealers in AFK Arena, the stats are what drives the damage. The stats are what drives the hero. The higher you build her, the better she is going to perform incredibly well. Is Althara now safe to build, or should we wait? I would build her. The thing with Althara, Raphael, is she is being used right now in the Curse Realm. We are seeing her in the Nightmare Corridor. We are also seeing her within the Treasure Scramble. We are seeing players run her within the Temple Rift teams. We are seeing her utility through a lot. I have Skyline at Mythic. Should I build him or build Althara? I would finish Skyline. The thing, Art, with Skyline is if Skyline is already at Mythic, you've already invested a considerable amount of resources into the hero. Knowing the hero has a incredible, and still probably, guys, when you start looking at the Treasure Scramble, I would say Skyline is the number one priority in the Treasure Scramble. If you do not have Skyline, and honestly, when you look at the utility, when you look at the team, Skyline's team usually doesn't lose within the Treasure Scramble. It is really, really broken in that methodology. And even then, Art, is if you have Skyline built up and you have that one copy, that legendary copy of Althara, you will still do incredibly well in those couple game modes where they're used together. It will work in there. 3 Tabro copies from 300 summons. Yeah, it's bad. We have talked about AFK Arena and really adjusting some of the rates in here, changing up some of the things that we see, and a lot of players are in the same boat. I know a couple players, and I believe Sour Haze was in the same boat. It was 800 plus summons with the free copies that you get in there, but it was 800 plus summons to get the hero up to 1 star, which is insane. This should be a copy of Althara, and it's a double, guys. Look at the streaming luck. I believe that might be enough to build it up to get some furniture. I believe she is already at Mythic Plus, but that is a double. So out of those 63 insignias we get, guys, anytime that we can pull a double, that is absolutely just epic. That saves us so many draconic insignias. That is awesome to see. Now, of course, going in here with the rest of these, it's just getting closer. We always talk about this when it comes to the summons, getting closer to building up or getting the next copy, getting closer to that pity timer, getting closer to the next pull, where honestly, when we start looking at AFK Arena in a bigger picture, when you start looking at the regular draconic heroes, these are probably the absolute 100% most difficult heroes in AFK Arena to obtain, because it is a random chance out of this wish list. Just like what Alone was saying, 300 summons for 3 copies of Tabriel. It is so incredibly random within here. Dragon Heart Temple, specifically when you're going to summon the hero, what hero you're looking for in here, because there is no desired summons, no desired hero summons. It is incredibly hard to get the heroes in the entirety, and it is just stupid expensive. It is so incredibly expensive to actually build them out in the entirety. And there we go, guys. That is the 3rd copy in there for Althara. And I believe Umbriel, that does take Umbriel all the way up to 5 stars as well. So he is done. Which, silly enough, guys, a lot of players, again, kind of built and summoned for Umbriel, including myself, didn't see or didn't find any utility. He was in a formation for a minute, and then unfortunately we did not see him anymore. But there is the Ascended, meaning we can put furniture on her finally. But remember, with the Highborn Draconic heroes, we cannot use Stargazer to add stars on there or get those additional copies, which I would love to see that change with these heroes itself. But now that she is at the Ascended level, we still need another roughly, you're talking 180 Draconic insignias, possibly less, to get those last 3 copies, to get that last star to add the engraving on there. It's going to be crazy. How's the free to play? What are your plans moving forward? Honestly, I have to grind. So if you've seen the video yesterday with the free to play, honestly, it's kind of crazy because we just keep getting power capped. Free to play is moving at such a speed with 3 of the towers that are in there. It is literally power capped. The King's Tower, the Wilder Tower, the Greyborn Tower on the free to play account are power capped in their entirety. It's very hard without having more levels to be able to just go through and build out and make a lot more progression, because we're not increasing our power cap fast enough about once or twice a week, I can farm through some of those towers. I really have to focus on the light bear and the maulers to make a lot more progression in towers. I have to build them up a lot higher, is what I'm focusing on there. And then, of course, everything that comes our way, all the events, everything that we get, including the dimensional heroes, we are picking up everything that we can, period, with all of those. So, about signature item priority, Skyland, Beatrice, Gabriel, or Melion. Honestly, I would do Skyland. And guys, the reason be just like we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, is if you don't have Skyland with the signature item, if you don't have him with the furniture, if you do not have it built out, you are not going to see the effectiveness. You are not going to see the damage of the hero itself. That's the reason why you have to build out these damage dealers. And honestly, I believe the recommended build on him is even well over the 9 of 9 furniture, very similar to what we see with like Envy and a couple other heroes. There is a much, much higher and much bigger build with a hero like Skyline, just for the fact of the effectiveness of the hero. You have to have the stats. You have to have the stats behind him to really maximize the damage that is in there. Indeed, it's free to play. We need every single thing, Raphael, that we can get. Does Tabrio need the SI40 like Begris? I would put him light right now at a 30. I don't think we've went that in depth with Tabrio to needing the 40. And I don't think he's going to be the number one priority. He is still relatively new, guys. You have to remember, when we got Tabrio, you're talking like 2, maybe 3 weeks. We have to see exactly where and when and how we continue seeing and building and really pushing the envelope on what the hero is going to do, where he has to be built, what is the requirement to be built, because we don't even know at this point, Light, if he is used in every single iteration of AFK Arena. That is kind of yet to be seen. So there we go. So we've had her in there for a considerable amount of time. We also do have Misha in here. And I'm thinking with Misha, we have 8 on the table. We need one more card. That's what we were saving the cards for. And I know Finn is not here today, but we were saving the cards to actually build her out. We have 8 cards on the table. So we're going to be 1 short of building her out because, of course, we are not going to have anything to put on her other than those cards. Like I said, with these heroes, guys, this is the reason why we build the cards and why we save the cards, is we can go ahead and we can pick her out of here. We can throw 8 cards on her. Boom. There we go. How easy is that? Several SI30 and 40 is only good for PvP. There you go. So what Alom said right there, the SI30 is great for the game modes. SI40 is good for PvP. It seems like for a lot of heroes, that is kind of the methodology behind where they're building them, or really how they're building them. Is we're seeing for regular players like you and I, that, just build to SI30 or possibly a little bit higher depending on the damage. But it almost seems like we're at a point where building the hero to an SI30 works if you want to be PvP focused, which we know is really whale focused. It requires a much higher build. Now, again, looking at Althara, looking at a couple of these heroes, I just took him right here to a plus 30 because, again, that's where I have the resources. I don't even have them. When his max stacks of Acumen, all allied heroes also gain a damage reduction effect. Yeah, that's going to be PvP. When you start thinking, again, bigger picture outside of the treasure scramble, this really isn't going to have effect. Nightmare Corridor, again, 7 to 10 seconds on combinations, not going to make a difference at all in there. Even when you start thinking of the night or the Curse Realm, again, the heroes in the Curse Realm do not die. Usually it's the Enraged Timer if they do die, but overall, it doesn't seem, again, the effectiveness of this. I probably wouldn't build it out that high just for the fact he's a damage dealer. And even now, I think we need I need 3 more copies of him in the entirety to build it out. So we still have a lot that we need to build out. Now, looking at summons and getting into the Noble Tavern, this is a place where we have 267 scrolls, even looking at our 1,200 points. I've been waiting for a regular 4-faction hero to really go in here, really do a lot of these summons. Because looking at our wish list, guys, if we take out all of the regular legendary heroes, we have Telmar, we have Garok, and then we do have Lythos. We have these 3 heroes that are not at 5 stars. Everybody else within AFK Arena is already at 5 stars. So I have been saving these. Hopefully we can pull some Awakened heroes with these, but overall, I've just been saving these stargazers. We're at 732 stargazer scrolls again. This again, regular gameplay going through. I'm using and doing all of the events, everything else. And then, of course, the Temple of Time, we're up to almost 500 again here. When we do get the Wilder release, which should be the next hero within an AFK arena, which will be an Awakened Wilder, we know they generate about 100 with the discounted summons of our time emblems. So that would take us to about 600 of our time emblems, giving us more than enough to build out the hero. And then we'll have to see what's coming with the Celestials and the Hypos. And honestly, a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors about the Chrono Strife and what is going here. Are we going to see the awakened version of Orthos and Zolrath? That would be pretty cool to see. But out of this event as well, I believe we already got all of the rewards. So again, not a lot to do within this game mode. I have 8 attacks left, but we already have everything destroyed, everything set. So we're just waiting for the loot in there to come in its entirety. F4 hasn't seen love in a long time. I know, absolutely light. So when we start looking at the heroes, I mean, here we got what, Alvita. When we start looking at what we actually got in the heroes, we got, so here I believe last year was just Alvita, and here we did get Talmar, which was good because we needed a good support hero. Here we got Garok, and then of course within this one we did get Lythos, and this one unfortunately Lythos isn't anywhere. I don't even know if a lot of players are using her because one, they don't have her built, two, they didn't summon for her within something like the tower formations. But overall, again, this is a hero we're not seeing a lot of utility at all for. So it's another hero that was just kind of a skip, which I don't mind. I don't have to use my signature items. You know, I don't have to use anything at all for the hero. So I'm pretty happy in that methodology that I don't have to spend anything with her. And of course, looking at the engraving mats, even after 6 years of gameplay, we are still at the point where we have 6,000 elemental cores. We are just waiting. We are just waiting to see what goes in there. What's going on, The Dream? Thank you for joining us. Since we skipped the Wilder Awaken this year, do you think we'll get an Awakened Wilder? Yes, it should be. So Alome, they originally said, and I don't know if this bears any weight anymore, that they would do kind of the first season, which, you know, even thinking way, way back when, so what, 4 years ago? I believe it's been 4 years at this point with the Awakened Heroes. It should be a Wilder because I know the first one in here, which of course was Belinda, was Thane, which was super, super broken. So we got Thane, then we got Belinda, then we did get Lucius, then we did get the Awakened version of Estrilda. So we are due to get our 4th Awakened Wilder. Now, of course, it seemed like the letter from Dom said that they really did like the crossover that they seen with Falks, a lot of interest with kind of that alternate timeline with Falks being a Graveborn hero. It makes me think that we are going to see another hero come to the Wilder faction that was not traditionally or not originally a Wilder hero. I feel like that's something that they were pretty stoked about, and they liked the what if scenario. And honestly, I know I mentioned it before, but if you've watched Marvel, and if you like Marvel movies at all, they have a what if series over on Disney Plus, and it's a really, really cool series because it shows you kind of alternate timeline. Same thing. I think that's where they kind of got the idea here. It's a pretty cool show to see on how they kind of do everything and how the alternate timeline kind of goes in there. Yeah, it's been a while. So again, Awaken Wilder should be next. I don't think Dolly has anything. We thought that when Dolly and when we came out with the 2 new heroes, that Dolly would have something new to say. And I believe as of right now, there wasn't any new dialogue in here that we've seen. I'm the only one, Lucky Charm. Even more summons. Yeah, Dolly does not have a new message of what is coming next to AFK Arena. Usually this is our sneak peek. I believe on the test server, I did not see it either, that there was anything in there that Dolly was kind of alluding to what could be coming down the pipeline. Now, of course, if you're a small whale, if you're a pay to win player, picking up the heroes, and I really want to look at the dimensional resource chest, because if you are not free to play, a lot of players are asking, is it worth spending the $15 to get the crossover heroes, the dimensional heroes? 100% yes. When you look at the cost of a $15 hero in relationship to the cost of buying the hero with all of the resources, spending the $15 buying the hero is going to give you access and give you the ability to use these resources as you need, as you fit for everything that we have within the shop. So this can really make a big difference as we continue to get more of those resource chests in there. It will make a really big difference. Elite Hero Stones, guys, we have 9 of these. I just save them till we get a chance to get a summon. In here, we have all of these heroes are just going to be acquired within our Elite Stones, hoping that we get an Awakened hero. We already do have a lot of Awakened heroes already at 5 stars. So I'm hoping that we just pull one that we do not have, which unfortunately, again, that is just going to be all recycled. Even our rare stones, I don't use them very much. I have to get back into doing a lot more summons when it comes to the Ghoulish Gallery. I have really just been stockading and building up a lot of resources within the gallery. I haven't done a lot in here. I haven't done a lot of summons. Haven't even got the 2 new collections in here from the south side. I'm going to have to build them out. I'm going to have to go in and build. And again, we've just been saving a lot of these bizarre totems, just going through and kind of stockpiling them. Even here, we have 8 level ups. Yeah, we're going to have to go in here and farm some of these out. There are some heroes within AFK Arena that do require a decently built collection to actually make progression. It's very hard where if you have a hero like Misha that does not have a defensive collection, she really doesn't work. If you have Valfura that doesn't have a good, solid magical pierce collection, again, the hero's utility goes down incredibly low. If you don't have Vigorous with a tenacity collection, there's a couple again that they have built around the collections themselves, and that is the same that is true with Althara. When we start looking at some of her skills and abilities, and it really requires right here, like the tenacity, or she requires, I believe it is the signature item piece. When it comes to building her out, is looking at building and right here, the based on erosion and magical pierce. Again, some of these heroes, if you really want to see the top end damage with some of these heroes, you have to add some some erosion and some magical pierce on the hero to really get that high end, top end damage that we're looking for out of these heroes. You really systematically have to go in there. Suddenly, I got a 4 magic pierce on Valfura. That's good. Another hero that uses that is Palmer. Palmer does require another really good MP collection. Palmer is one, again, based on the skills and abilities, and we still do him or use him every now and then. Palmer is one that does require, again, an MP collection that does incredibly well. And there are, again, a couple ones that really do require it. They change collections without saying anything. Used to take me 1 to 2 tries to get a legendary totem. Now it takes me 4 to 5 pulls. D-Light, I haven't seen that. I've actually been pretty lucky with the pulls. The last couple that we've done, I've been, again, buying staffs out of here and getting a couple more things. Even in here, guys, we have 3 cards that are sitting here just kind of waiting to see what we're going to get. Even combining these, I've been combining these on a regular basis, trying to get it and build out. Yeah, I'm going to have to see, like, because I haven't done a pull in a little bit of time to see exactly what it looks like in the build. Even here, guys, we're farming through the battle. I believe the new Misty Valley is up. I believe it just came up out of last night. Yep. Out of nowhere, heroes appear. I ran through this on my free-to-play account. This, I'm very disappointed from. I like the loot. It's free resources, whatever, going through here and doing this. On the free-to-play account, I felt like the storyline wasn't really a lot, and there wasn't a lot to it. I thought it would be a lot more in-depth, a lot more back and forth with heroes and everything, and unfortunately, it wasn't. Now, Temple Rift, I got to the point of 4 teams. I think I just hit 4 teams yesterday, and that was where we stopped because I was actually at work and it was auto farming. No, 3 teams. So we're still at 3 teams. I think we still have all 3 teams in there. Yeah, floor 141. I'm going to have to push this a little bit further. This is a point where I'm not too worried about when it comes to the leaderboard, when it comes to the frames, when it comes to all of the rewards that you get out of here. I don't care about frames. You can only wear 1 frame. I know a lot of people really push for the frames and everything else. I care about the resources that are in here. I like the $1 frame that I got right here. But overall, when it comes to the frames, I push the Temple Rift to floor 300 on this account. I push the Temple Rift free to play on the free to play account all the way to 300. That is where I leave it. I don't go in here. I just don't go in and push and spend the time and effort to try to fight for a frame. Again, that you're literally just going to backseat because you can only wear 1 frame at a time. to me, it doesn't make a difference. It's really something where I'm not going to put time and money into. Yeah, the $1 frame. Yeah, this was the free frame from a purchase within AFK Arena. It was a 99-cent frame, which I like it. I'm still missing Magical Pierce, Erosion, Tenacity in collections. Alone, it takes a long time. Do you own any chat bubbles? I don't think so. I don't think I do. Where are the chat bubbles? I don't use chat, which I know we got these little icons for a bunch of different heroes in here. I don't think I have any. I don't even know where they're at. I don't have them. What's going on, Madhu? Thanks for joining us for the stream. I read that One Punch Man manga, and I thought the voyage was kind of funny. Oh yeah, like I said, I don't know the backstory for One Punch Man. I watched the very first episode, and that was it. Which was pretty interesting. I want to see the utility. I want to see if they actually end up being used somewhere. It would be press your player icon and then change your profile pics. Did here? Bubble. Oh, bubbles. Yep, I got a white square. A default chat bubble. That's all that I got for you, Light. Like I said, I don't buy anything, even rate plates, even looking at the frames. All of these frames are free. I got some of the Valentine's Day frames. I think some of the ones that were kind of awarded. Yeah, I don't buy anything in here. Even looking at the skins, all of the skins, even within the merchant tab, I don't pay for skins. I will only buy things within AFK Arena if they benefit or if they help you within the wardrober. Yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's quite a few skins in here. Some of these skins we actually were awarded for different content creator places. I believe the skin for, was it Liberta? Might have been Liberta or Lucila. We got some of these skins for free, being part of the content creator program they had with the AFK Arena. That we did get a few different things in here with the skins. That we picked one, and I believe we submitted some videos over on AFK Arena. It was pretty cool. Yeah, just the regular frames. I don't use that. Yep. How much? Oh, yes. Not at all, guys. If you ever message me, and honestly, I have gotten messages over on Discord that say, "Hey, I sent you in-game chats. Um, did you see them?" No, I did not. Guys, I do not go into chat. I do not use the chat. I do not use the in-game chat. Even looking probably at everything that we have. Yeah, 30 DMs right here. I do not, and I will not go through. I do not use chat for anything at all. So if you ever message me in chat, I will not respond because I do not look at chat. I will not, and I do not at all. You ever think you'll stop playing AFK Arena? Honestly, there may be a point in time. I mean, it's been 6 years. It's a game that I love to play. And honestly, when it comes to AFK Arena, it doesn't take a crazy amount of time with the game. New content comes out. You might spend, 10 or 15 minutes. And a lot of time when I play AFK Arena, I actually play with you guys doing live streams, or I play the game. I go through content. I go through a lot of different things when I'm actually recording. So I can set a couple things like even here, setting tower progression while I'm going through and I'm editing my finance videos. I can do a lot of different things while AFK Arena just kind of runs, whether it's going through campaign formations, going through, the Temple Rift, anything like that, is having two screens because all of my chat is on this side with the videos, everything else. And then AFK Arena is my main screen. I can actually just swap it over to my side screen and do everything that I need for content creation and everything else just on my main screen. And honestly, it's a game that I really do enjoy making the progression. And I feel like that's part of, and again, feedback that I've given to Lilith is making the game the progression that it used to, meaning that when you start looking at collections is being able to actually get a collection. Like let's say, for instance, right down here, we pull out, a Zafrio collection. So being able to accumulate resources to improve or level up or build up collections itself versus you literally starting from ground zero every single time you want to build out a collection, being able to cumulative get experience for, let's say, a collection like Zafrio's collection, and it will level up these in the entirety, even here where, we have 5, 6, 7, 8 collections, but it will go through and kind of level up collections every run that you in the Ghoulish Gallery, knowing that you're pushing towards the goal. So if the goal is getting a collection that is a perfect collection, with 8 mythic abilities on it, knowing that you're progressing, knowing that you're moving towards that one common goal of getting through there. So if you have to do, whatever, 10, 20, 30, 40 runs for that specific collection, that the collection gain experience itself, being able to level up the collections when you level up a collection gives you the ability, the same thing that we see recasting elixir, to actually build up a collection. So you're going through and you're building your collections and knowing you're working towards the common goal of getting better collections, people can grind it. And that's where I feel like, again, a lot of the content is kind of missed, where, without having arcane staffs, your collections are dead in the water. It is 100% dead in the water. You can't do anything with collections if you do not have staffs, if you don't have those mythic tomes. There's nothing you can do. You can literally sit there. There is nothing to do. Plus servers hypo event is boring. Yes, Dream. I definitely agree with you there. Also, are you active in the Discord server? Not that active. And I know me and a couple other ones that really do run the Discord server. There are players in there every single day asking questions, getting answers. It's got, I believe, around 1,000, maybe 1,000 plus people in there. But there are people within the Discord server. I do hop in there every now and then when I have a little bit of extra time. But Discord, unfortunately, can be a very, very big black hole when you start going through there and start having chat. It eats up a crazy amount of time when you go through there. I remember to lock your good collection. Oh, I haven't locked any collections. I didn't even know that you could lock your collections in here. Let's go. Let's see. We can lock your collection. There we go. Now it shows we got a lock on our collection. Yeah, I didn't even know. I know the heroes, I believe you can do the same. I believe you can lock your heroes, or there was a way maybe once upon a time to lock your heroes. Oh, there it is. There is still a hero lock. Again, I don't lock any of the collections for the heroes. They just kind of sit there. Any news on a hypo, celestial hypo? No, nothing. Right now, I believe it is going to be a awakened wilder. Again, we're well overdue for an awakened wilder. The real question for a lot of players is the garrison. Are we going to start seeing Marcial and Laios in here? Because, like I said earlier, unfortunately, if you did miss both of those heroes, you have a really, really big gap within the teams that you're building within a bunch of different content, just because Marcial and Laios, the combination of those two, are super strong, are best in slot for a lot of different places. Then, of course, we do have the Sun Jin Woo and the Shah Hayan collaboration that could come over, or the crossover that we could actually see in the garrison. And of course, One Punch Man, make sure you get those heroes in its entirety. Been a long time since I got a really good collection. Luck is never on my side. It almost seems like they want to go through and you just farm collections like crazy to try to recast a decent collection. I know it's been a while since I've even went through and looked at a collection. But overall, I need to go in there and I need to summon them in the entirety. What's going on, Yoshi? And Brennan is here as well. Just made it. Thank you guys for joining me for the stream. New to the game, I have some questions. Who beside Satama? And so when you look at garrison-wise, the big ones in here, if you're newer to AFK Arena, which you just said you are, is Rem. So Rem is going to be the one that you want to get. Rem is going to be your priority because Rem is going to be able to carry you through a lot of content. And I think it's Des here, Dahan's here. Rem is going to be the early game carry. If you got some questions, guys, definitely drop them there. But yeah, this is going to be the one. This is going to be really the strong one to build. But right now, get the 2 new heroes. Get both of the new heroes. We don't want to miss them. You want to make sure that you are pulling both of these dimensional heroes, which means right now you might not have resources to pick up Rem. You might not have resources to pick up Shuna. These are going to be your priority. And again, feedback that I'm getting on Discord, feedback that I'm getting from a lot of places is Satama is incredibly and has an incredibly high utility early game. A lot of players that use the trial version or bought the hero very early as a tank. They said this hero is doing incredibly well early game as a tank. Still have to, again, wait to see where utility is for more of the late game or end game. But overall, they have said this hero is incredibly tanky, incredibly effective early game as being a tank. Now, of course, Terrible Tornado does require a little bit of a build out to have the effectiveness with damage. And again, a lot of players earlier game are saying does well if you can keep her alive. That she's kind of like what we see with some of our squishier mage heroes, that she does die pretty easy if you do not protect her, if you don't have the ability to protect her. But again, early game, this would be the one if you're just buying one hero in the entirety. I feel like this would be an effective carry in there, just from that tanking aspect. But like we had said, get both of them. Get both of the dimensional heroes. I cannot stress that enough. If you miss the heroes, you're going to get burned. And we have seen this. I mean, going all the way back to, again, the garrison, and thinking of the garrison, like when Rem came out, when Ainz came out, heroes after release. So once the heroes from One Punch Man are gone from the collection, you can't get them anymore. You can't redeem them for those chests. It is roughly 5 to 6 months before you see the ability to get them again. If they're in meta formations like we see with Marcial and Laios, unfortunately, all of the players that miss those heroes are just SOL because they don't have the ability to get them at all. There's no way to get them. You're kind of stuck at that point. Resources are killing me to build both. I'm going to wait and build them up and say, well, honestly, the resources, they give you all of them. The resource generation. So right now, the dimensional sign-in is going very slow. You're getting one chest. When you look at this very bottom week, you're getting 3, 6, 9, 12, plus 10. You're getting 24 resource chests. Brendan, you will get a crazy amount of resources. All of your resources will be filled with these chests, and you'll start redeeming the chests because you don't want them to expire. They give you way over the amount of resources that you actually need to build these heroes. And this is not, or this is outside of all of the resources that you regularly generate out of summons, out of your guild coins, out of, running all of the different game modes. You will find and you will have all of the resources you need to get them. All right. Thank you, sir. Oh, you're welcome. Can you show me what item do I use in collections if I want example of full attack erosion? In here, there are some specific ones, and it depends who you're building it for within the Ghoulish Gallery. So if you're looking at full attack, I believe that is the attack. So if you're looking for straight attack, this is the attack one. There is one that is full defense, or excuse me, that is the attack, which is right here. So the piercing blade. So if you're building a collection and you specifically want to try to get this full attack, you can see full attack right on there. You can see erosion. This is one that when you get an elite or lower, there's a 10% chance it will be switched to one of these. I believe there was one other one that did offer full attack right here, mass crowning. When winning a battle and obtaining abilities, probability receiving the ability full attack, full health, or full defense is increased by 100%. After the above abilities obtained, they have a 10% chance to ascend for one tier. An ability can ascend its tier to Mythic Plus through the effects of the Bizarre Totem. So again, if you're going in here and you're looking at like a collection where you are going to build full attack, let's say for a support hero, this is going to be something that you want to try to pick up with the full attack and trying to get that full attack in here. Now, chances are if you're going for full attack, it's going to roll full health or full defense. Hopefully you pick up some swaps in there and you can actually make it work. But those are the two where if you're looking for full attack. Now, of course, Ghoulish Gallery, there is a lot of RNG factor in here when you're building out collections. So looking at the swaps, looking at the redemptions, looking at the everything in here, there's still a really big RNG piece in there. Absolutely. I bet they're both going to need an SI40 again. That's a good question. We could see, and they could require an SI40 because his SI40, when he receives a shield other than the guard effect, he also gains guard equal to a certain percent of its shield value. Now, we had a lot of questions around this where when he receives a shield other than his guard effect, so thinking of a couple heroes in here, again, the effectiveness of like getting a Strilda shield, putting up the awakened version of a Strilda, putting the shield up on this hero, thinking of like a Garok that is going to give the shield, also gains guard. So if he gets a shield from one of those tanks and it gives him a higher guard, what is that going to look? This is where breaking it down and thinking about the SI40 for both of those is going to take some time. And I know Debo, I know Rockaday, I know there are a lot of players that are building this out and seeing exactly the effectiveness, or really understanding the nuts and bolts of how these heroes are actually built and what it actually means. Because even looking at this, so does this mean when he receives a shield other than his guard effect? So does it mean any shield from any hero? Because of course, some heroes, their shield is going to be a lot stronger. And then where is the guard effect capped? Is there a point where it is guard, that effect is going to be capped? It's going to make a big difference. Again, looking at all of these abilities, figuring out exactly where these heroes are going to be used. When Terrible Tornado's psychic power reaches 50 points, the attack rating of herself and allied heroes within the field is increased by 50%. That is a massive, massive buff with a plus 40 signature item. So even if we don't see her in a formation where she is the primary damage dealer, she could amplify the primary damage dealer's attack rating, not only for herself, but allied heroes within that field by 50%. That is a really, really big buff that we see with the hero. And of course, the stack, where if you have like Shuna in here with her, Shuna is buffing up the attack rating. You can actually scale this and get these very, very high. That's where, again, a lot of testing is going to have to take place with heroes to see the effectiveness of where they are. But if you have the hero, it is way better than not having the hero. And again, regretting not getting the hero. Even looking at Shahan, this is one that I do like the hero. It's very cool to see the crossover that we had. That's why I built her up. You can see we have a majority of her gear in here. And now she's starting to be used in formations. I built her when she was released. Didn't really use her for much of anything. Sun Jin Woo was kind of the same. We built him up upon release. Didn't see a ton of effectiveness with him, and now both of them are being used in different formations. So again, the utility of the heroes might take a little bit of time to gain some ground, but once we find exactly where they're being used, it is really going to make a big difference. Bought Satama, waiting for him to get used since I'm not an early game campaign. Yeah, and again, if you're spending the $15 to get one of them, like the Dream did, it is very beneficial. It is really beneficial, because then, of course, all of those resource chests that you're getting or that you're not using, you can actually drop into the guild shop and you can pick up all of the dimensional gear that you need, heroes. Now, of course, looking down here, we do not have any dimensional gear in here, but as this switches, as this actually refreshes every single day, you can have more than enough guild coins. And I am almost done right here, guys. We need one copy, and I believe it is one copy. Yep, 1, 2, and 3. That will take Hilduin up to 5 stars in the entirety. So Hilduin will be done as well. Still waiting an engraving reset, and I want to get your thought about this, guys. So engraving reset, there were 2 heroes that I kind of pinned that I thought would make sense for the engraving reset. Number 1 is the draconic version of Gwen, getting that, and she has an E80 engraving. So actually resetting Gwen's engraving. Now, as it sits today, I do not use Gwen for anything. I literally have not used Gwen for anything at all. So I'm gonna have to see exactly what it looks like, because this hero at an E80 is just sitting here with absolutely nothing to do. The other hero that I was looking at is the awakened version of Antandra. This is another hero. Upon release, I built her up, and as you can see, we built her up very, very high, putting the E80 engraving on there. Now, this hero, of course, when it comes to utility, when it comes to formations, we don't see her used really anywhere at all, short of the Mauler Tower. Now, the Mauler Tower, for a majority of players, is incredibly difficult to make progression in. So this is a hero that I might leave at the 80, do the reset with Gwen just to get all of these resources back, and then probably take a hero like Althara once we get built up all the way up to that E80, just for the effectiveness in a lot of different game modes. And even thinking of some of the big heroes, the PvP or the E80 engraving is really just the PvP. Within the Arena of Heroes, Legends Challenger, Champion, Treasure Scramble, Heroes of Espria, increasing the insight and the attack, it is really only based on and really only used in PvP, not anywhere else. Gwen for AE, only the other Draconic girl with the bubbles. Oh, Nyla, yeah. Is your Orthos 9 of 9? Yes. So my Orthos is 9 of 9, and we do have engraving on Orthos. This makes a big difference. And honestly, Yoshi, you've talked about how big of a pain in the butt this is with Orthos. For Nightmare Corridor, I can't optimize the time. So you can actually go into the inn, and a lot of players go into the inn and remove some of his furniture. Again, depending on the build, I have seen all different builds with the hero itself. So not only playing around and messing with the Elder Tree and what you actually have here within the Fortitude. There's Fortitude resetting this to, I believe, a 70, 74, 77, something like that. But taking away a lot of the stats here. Then I know a lot of players go into the Oak Inn and they actually reduce or really pull back a lot of the furniture that they have on Orthos. That way you can kind of play around with all of his stats and his abilities. Again, that's a super pain in the butt, Yoshi, to deal with it, to optimize what exactly is going on to get him to the point. It's very difficult to get through and hitting that. Shimira F30 is getting there. Yeah, little by little, guys, when you're doing summons and everything, it gets there. Exact question was the guy about Yoshi showing us how to get low time in the Nightmare Corridor. It's different, and NC, it's different for every account. So as much as I hate to say that, because even looking here, we're on our stats when we start looking at the engraving, and because I have my Orthos engraved, I am picking up all of these stats, all of the dynamic, the haste in here, but also looking at the vitality, looking at the HP, everything that is in here is going to make it different than what you might see on your specific one. Because of me having it engraved and not having it engraved. Failed due to Forsaken Necropolis network problems. Forsaken Necropolis broke. We broke the Necropolis. And again, it's going to make a difference where if I have a plus 30 signature item, if you have a plus 40 signature item, this is going to make a big difference on if you have tier 3 gear, if you have tier 4 gear. There are so many variables. And like I had said earlier, if you have all the furniture, if you're not, if you have them engraved over the 30, if you at the Elder Tree, that is the reason why so many players do hate Orthos comp, because it is it's very silly. It's very silly how it works. Yep, Orthos cheese sucks. Just what Brendan said. It really does, and it really is very, very difficult to deal with when it comes to having and changing out these formations. It's just a pain in the butt. And honestly, when you look at some of the heroes or some of the players that are best in slot within a lot of those game modes, there are some, like I know Lith, we talked about Lith a little bit earlier, and I don't think he's in here. But when we look at Lith, he said you might do 30, 40, 50, 60 runs within the Nightmare Corridor to get the score. That's a lot of diamonds, guys. If you're doing 50 resets within the Nightmare Corridor, that is a lot of diamonds to run the Nightmare Corridor 50 times, or the Cursed Realm in addition another 50 times. To do 100 resets in the game modes just to score a little bit higher. Again, it's incredible to see, just dumping that sheer amount of diamonds into the game mode is incredible. I've been playing for a little while, and I feel silly because I don't understand the garrison. I fully own the character. So the way that it works, Gimney, is when you go into the garrison, you buy your exchange. So you will actually use your resources for the exchange. Each one takes 100 dimensional stones. Once you hire a hero, you will get the hero for 30 days. So again, let's say, for instance, we go in here and we hire Rem. We will get Rem for 30 days and only 30 days. Once those 30 days expire, it is going to require 100 dimensional stones to rehire that hero. Now, the caveat to this is once you hire a hero 6 times, you own the hero. You no longer you got to take own the hero with a grain of salt, because owning the hero means you still have to come in the garrison and rehire the hero, but owning the hero after the 6 times you get them in the garrison, you no longer have to use resources for it. That is the big thing. So for instance, right now on my free to play account, I have garrisoned Rem, and I believe it is 4 times at this point. Once I garrison Rem 2 more times, so once I use 600 dimensional stones on Rem, Rem will be mine, and Rem will be mine to keep. Now, one thing also to note when it comes to the garrison is, again, if we go ahead and we get Rem, you get a base version of REM, meaning you have to do the signature items, you have to do furniture, you have to do engraving, but the hero will be yours. So if you go in here and you garrison the hero one single time, you build them up to a 40960, so you max them out, and then you don't garrison them again, you are not going to have the resources. You're not going to have access to the hero nor the resources that you put into that hero at all. I think Thorin, he's the heart of the skill team and used in all modes. Falks is also to be considered. Yeah, so as of now, it seems like even looking at these game modes, any newer players to these game modes, we are not using the Thorin cheese, the original Thorin cheese like this. They are actually using the awakened version of Thorin in combination with the Slumbering Seal with Falks. So even here, you can see the NVIDIA team, Envy's team replaced the Thorin cheese. And again, when you start looking at he's in team number 3 as the 5-pole. But as we start getting newer heroes to AFK Arena, and of course within formations, and again, this is something that I really talked about that I wish they would change in here, is it doesn't give us a date of when these teams were run or when these heroes came through AFK Arena. You can kind of speculate based on the teams that we have in here. For instance, on this team specifically, we have there's Lucius, there is Athalia, there is Envy, so we know it's released after Envy. There's Aurelia, and there is Gwen, or excuse me, Belinda. So there is no Thorin cheese in here. You can see the level of 1052. This is going to be a really good one to kind of copy in here. But overall, depending on when these were pulled or when these formations were completed, it does make a really big difference on when you can use it. Or again, if you're looking at some of the formations in here that are much older, they're going to use older heroes that a lot of newer players are not going to build at all. That's why I wish with the formation specifically, they could put in when the formations were used, or make sure, formations that were used within the last 6 months, maybe. It could be something they do change. Any thoughts on the 2 new collections? So it seems like they're being used in 1 or 2 places, but it's not really worth the build. The only place that I've actually seen the new collections being used are big whale accounts. Anyone else, they're still putting in the regular ones. And honestly, even thinking of the 2 collections, Sonya and Nara is being used a little bit for PvP, which again, if you don't have it, not going to make a difference. Sonya's collection, I believe I seen it in the Cursed Realm, but again, not really making a big difference in there with the collection itself. I started like 10 minutes ago and I got 2 times Ivan and Randy. What should I do with the gems? With diamond summons, you will do, and if you're newer to AFK Arena, guys, it is going to be the summons. You are going to use all of your diamonds right here. You're going to use it. This is going to get you all of the regular 4 faction heroes, celestial heroes, hypo heroes, awakened heroes. All of your diamonds are going to go in here until you get to the point of unlocking the towers, the faction towers in there, which hopefully you have enough heroes going through and doing regular summons here to push a lot of those faction towers in entirety. That's different for all. Zora is slowly falling down. Skarath is everywhere. Falks, Thorin is, yeah, there's a lot. Thorin mainly used in PvP. Yeah, we're starting to see him, and he's weird because some formations run Thorin, and I know we have a couple more minutes left. Some formations run Thorin as just a hero in the formation. So even looking here, where there's a few, and I know I seen him earlier, where he's in a formation, doesn't do any damage. He's just kind of hanging out. Even right there, Skarath. Skarath in this formation, this is really not a huge game changer within here, but overall you can see this is a formation where Skyland is being used and a couple other heroes. And I have to go in here. I have to fix my team. I have 19 hours in here. But even looking at the leaderboard, like I was saying, see, here's Thorin. Thorin did 11k damage. He is just in the formation for, and I really feel like not a lot, maybe just because to die in the formation, because there he is as a ball. Boom, he'll pop up right here, has the shield. Even there, he does 1 attack, and then it's dead. So it seems to me, even here, like Thorin doesn't do anything in this formation. Even though they have him in the formation, they have him a crazy high built out. Even looking at, the full attack, this is really all that he does. So he is bringing full attack. So he's bringing a lot more attack to Estrilda in there. And I know the first 3 seconds during this time where the holder can move, Again, he's not doing damage in there, but he is in the formation in there. It's pretty interesting. You find that people regret not getting both dims during the event? Yes, 100%. Do I find that people regret not getting the dims? Yes. I have seen over the past like 4 years a crazy amount of players that get absolutely 100% burned because they do not get the crossover heroes. You have to get the crossover heroes. It is an absolute requirement, guys. I know hundreds, I would say even this point, maybe even thousands of players that got absolutely burned because Thorin's ult gives the damage amp. So Loam, that might be the only reason. But again, 7 seconds kind of crazy. So when you're building out a hero to use in a couple other places, I only have Awakened Folks for my Graveborn and need a second. Chimera. I would do Chimera. Chimera's utility is very, very unique. And Chimera is used a lot of places, Brendan, outside of the towers. When you look at campaign formations, when you look at the Temple Rift, when you look at Chimera's ability to keep heroes alive that would be dead, that is Chimera's superpower. That is the reason why she is so high. So in the Graveborn Tower, she will 100% have utility. And even looking at other game modes, she still does have a lot of utility in other game modes, including the PvP aspect of the Treasure Scramble. Chimera is one that will be used and is very unique how she is built and how she does. Yeah, I would definitely build out Chimera. She is one, again, that I do like and I do use for a ton of content. Looks like this tower is capped again. We're going to have to continue pushing. We're at 15 here, even 2,300 on the tower. I'm going to have to continue pushing those little by little. But all right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's live stream. I know it's a little bit earlier today. I have a birthday party to go to. I'm going to have to go get ready, get all prepped to go to the birthday party. And of course, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, definitely sub to the channel. We are at 42, almost 42,000 subscribers. It's climbing like crazy with the collaboration with the crossover. I've got a lot more content also, and I'm going to keep you up to date on both of the crossover heroes when we start seeing them in formations, when we start seeing the heroes used and having a little bit more utility. Definitely want to cover and show you exactly where they're being used, exactly how they're being built, and how we're going to use heroes. But like I said, right now, get the heroes. Get both of the dimensional heroes. You don't want to miss any of them. You want to make sure that you do pick these up on a regular basis because you don't want to wait the 5, 6, possibly even 7 months when it comes to the crossover and being able to get the heroes. Definitely get them. Does Aurelia or Nox Tech priority in the Skygazer? I know I need who I should go for next. If your earlier game, Nox is really good because of the Slumbering Seal. I did Aurelia over on the free-to-play account. I built Aurelia first before Nox. And you could go the same way. Now, between Aurelia, Demia, and Nox, they're really two strong ones. Now, the reason why I did Aurelia is because we go in there, but Nox, yeah, for the campaign will be very, very broken. Looking back, I wish I did have Nox for the campaign because it is super broken with Nox, especially when you build them up quite a bit. But I built Aurelia, and now I'm building Nox. That is going to be my secondary priority that we're building out of there. And look at that. We got one gifting of the membership, guys. Thank you, Kevin Kev. Kevy Kev Kev? I think it's Kevy Kev Kev now. Thank you for the gifting of the membership, and congratulations to Warris2737 for gifting of the membership. It is always awesome to see. Keep up the good work. Yeah, guys, like I said, for AFK Arena, I'm not going anywhere. I know I love, and I really do love playing the game. Being able to sit down and talk to you guys about AFK Arena, going through all the content. I know I need to push a little bit more within the chapter, the campaign progression itself, but we are getting there little by little. So, all right, guys. So that is going to do it. Yes, I like to come back here and there. Well, thank you guys for joining me for the stream. Again, I know it was a little bit earlier today. I'm going to try to stream sometime during the week. I want to do at least 1 or 2 a week. But guys, thank you guys for joining me. Love talking to you guys about AFK Arena. Got to go get ready for this party that we got going on. Not my kid's party, but it is a birthday party. So again, guys, thank you guys for joining me. Awesome to see you. Thank you guys for joining me for streaming. As always, thank you guys for watching.